Hey, it's Greg here with MaritimeGardening.com, and I'm not gardening today. I'm out in the woods, and you know, I've got a number of videos where I'm swinging an axe, and I know a lot of people that watch me are beginner gardeners, and maybe they're seeing me swing an axe. I mean, there's nothing more exhilarating than swinging an axe, but maybe they're seeing me swing an axe and they're getting inspired to say, I'm going to buy an axe, and I'm going to swing an axe, and I'm going to chop down trees. So I thought, you know, that's great if you're going to do that, but you know, really you should watch a good number of videos on how to do that safely. Anyway, I just thought I would do that today, do a short video on how to cut a tree down safely. This is an area that's slated for development. This whole thing's going to be mowed down at some point in time, so I don't really feel bad about killing trees. And this tree's already dead anyway. If you look at the very top, I'm not going to bother adjusting the camera. You're just going to have to trust me. This is an evergreen tree. This is probably a birch tree, and there's no needles at the top. There's no green. It's dead. It's only been dead for a number of years. But based on the how few branches there are on the tree, it's probably been dead 5-6 years, I would say. Anyway, so I'm going to show you some basic tips on how to chop a tree safely and that sort of thing. Generally speaking, you want to make sure that there's nothing near the tree that might affect your swing. Tree here that's kind of in the way. There we go. Pretty good. Okay, so I think I've removed all the main obstructions here. Any lower branches that might be in the way, you remove them. Then what you got to do is decide which way you want it to go. And never cut, if you can, in the direction of a little mound, because the tree can sort of hit the mound and boing, the back will swing up. And I've seen guys at lumberyard I used to go to, the guy that owned the lumberyard, so a seasoned lumberjack, had all his teeth smashed out from a tree that did that. The tree went down, timber, hit a mound, like a little rounded hump, and the back came up and just poof, got him right in the face. So anyway, how far do you stand from the tree? You want a really good axe. You don't want to mess around. I see a lot of guys on YouTube with these little short axes that cost like 300 bucks. And I'm guessing they were given those axes by the people that make the $300 axes to say they're really awesome. If you're out in the woods and you want to cut your trees down, get a real axe. I mean, this is a what they call a Michigan head. That's a particular pattern of axe. But this is a 3.5 pound head, and the handle is, I would say 3 feet. I'm 6 feet long, and that's half my wingspan. So it's a 3-foot handle, 36 inches, right? So, you know, that's an axe that you can use to chop down a tree. And the good thing about having a nice long axe like this is it places you, a safe distance from the tree. And really, the right distance to be from a tree is the length of the axe if you've got a good long axe, right? And when you're swinging, I'm not going to cut it this way because it would actually fall on the camera. I don't want that. The tree has to go this way just based on the way the other trees are. But when you're swinging, you don't want to hit high, or you want to hit low. I would say like maybe a foot, you know, a foot off the ground or around that zone here. That way, because if you swing up this high and the thing misses, it can come down and hit you. Right? If you're swinging low and it bounces off, it's going to hit the ground. Remember, your feet are an axe length away from the tree. Also, by having your feet an axe length away from the tree, it helps you avoid the situation where you swing and you hit the axe in the handle and break your axe. Right? It sort of positions you to do a proper swing and to sort of hit it on the sweet spot, so to speak. So I want the tree to fall this way. In the surrounding trees, there's a nice hole in the trees over here, and so I'm going to start by cutting here. I'm going to cut about almost like halfway in on this side. I want it to go that way. That's called a wedge, and it helps guide the cut. Now, you see a lot of people try to cut a tree, and they do one cut like this, and they do some stupid cut like this up, which can just bounce off and get you in the face, right? Or they'll go down like this and they'll hit it sideways. But the best way to cut into wood is diagonal to the grain, right? The grain is like a circle, so you want to go diagonal to it. You want to do these 45-degree cuts. What you're going to be doing is like 2 parallel 45-degree cuts. You're going to have one here and one here. And you're just going to be going back and forth, and hunks of wood are going to just fall out of that. So let's do that here. Alright, I'd say that's enough on that side. You see how the pieces came off in chunks like that? It's little tiny pieces, right? That's how you know you're doing it right, when it's coming off, and the bigger the chunks the better. Like for me, this isn't a perfect execution because the chunks would be even larger. Anyway. Hopefully I can cut this just right so that I can zoom the camera back and further out for the actual following of the tree. But pretty much, you put your axe like this, and if it's flat against this side, and it's pointing in the way you want it to fall, that's the way it's going to fall, unless it's got a, a particular lean or something like that. And oh, just to be thorough, before I actually started filming this, I gave this tree a few whacks to see if it was a widowmaker. It's not, right? Hasn't been dead quite as long as the one in the other video that's an actual widowmaker. Same approach, same distance. You see how I just missed that? It glanced off and it went down and hit the ground. That's not ideal because you can hit a rock and wreck your blade, but it's better than hitting your foot. Just taking a look at the wedge there. Maybe one more whack there. Oh, there she goes. It's just in a tree. Actually, that's good. Barely. That's good. I can zoom it out and show the rest of that. So I got a half fallen tree here that's fetched up on a couple branches up here. Very dangerous situation. You want to keep your distance, not be too close. I'm back enough. It's only going to really go that way initially anyway. It's not making any noise, but I'm going to do this very briefly. I'm going to walk all the way around here. I'm going to zoom the camera out so you can see how I deal with this safely, and hopefully it'll come right down. I wouldn't have thought it would have been fetched up by that. It's just the slightest little, it's almost nothing. Something thinner than a broom handle is holding this tree up. It's amazing. I think a good gust of wind would probably take it, but anyway, let me zoom the camera out and show you how I deal with this. Alright, here we go. So I'm not going to push on this with my hands because it could kick out here. Come out and hit you in the knee or the shin or something like that. So I'm just going to, oh, no. I'm just going to take a rotten tree like this, right? And just put it on the tree. I'm nowhere near it. I'm 15 feet away. Just push a bit. Here we go. Safe. Anyway, I'm glad it worked out that way, that it sort of got fetched up as it fell. It was barely hanging on to a little tiny branch. It didn't take much to get it going. But that's kind of like what really happens, right? When you're doing this sort of thing, it can totally happen. So you got to be really safe and you got to expect things that aren't going to happen because things can go really wrong really fast when you've got that much weight and all that length going in one direction. You know, you're in a very dangerous situation when you're chopping down a tree, even though it looks cool and fun and that sort of stuff. The axe is dangerous, and once that tree is, you know, starting to move, you are not in control of what's going on, right? Hopefully you've set everything up so that it's going to go the way you planned, and you've anticipated how it's all going to happen, and you can get out of the way, get back and, you know, off to the side sort of thing. So all the advice, all the knowledge I have about doing this sort of thing is just a combination of trial, error. I've injured myself with axes before. I've done it enough that I've injured myself. And a lot of reading and watching YouTube videos, of course. But, you know, long before YouTube was a thing, I was a voracious reader on outdoors books. And there's very few that actually cover this sort of thing well. For me, the best source is a fellow named Morris, M-O-R-S, Kochanski, K-O-C-H-A-N-S-K-I. He wrote a book called Northern Bushcraft, I think in the late 80s. It is just about the best book. He has an entire chapter on how to use axes and very good instructions on where to stand and how to chop and how to sharpen an axe. And I mean, the detail he goes into, it's the detail that could only be carried out, or that someone with a lot of experience would care to go to. If you've ever read George W. Sears' book, Nesmuk, or whatever the name of that book is, George W. Sears was a famous American outdoor. Spent a lot of time in the Adirondacks. No, Alleghenies. The care he goes into explaining how to make coffee, how to make a campfire. It just shows you like the experience and the attention to getting things right, and an understanding of what can go wrong and all the other things that can happen, right? The same thing I would say would be the case with Morris. Everything he says, the book reeks of experience, and having experienced that 1 in 500 event where a tree doesn't fall right, or the top comes off, or the top hits something and comes back and lands on you, like all kinds of things can go wrong, right? Once that tree starts to go, you got to get out of there. You can't just stand around. So I hope that I found that interesting, and you know, inspired you to get outdoors and do something. If you're going to buy an axe and start chopping down things, I would be very careful about how you go about doing that. And also get a good axe and learn how to make sure it's properly sharp. I saw this axe for sale in a farm supply store just a couple days ago. My wife and the kids were visiting friends of ours in a different part of the province, and there's a store there that sells all kinds of farm equipment. And I always go to the axe section because you never know what they're going to have. And this baby, this nice 3-foot long, 3.5 pound head Michigan head axe was there for $24.99. $24.99. I'm amazed when I watch YouTube and see these guys with these outrageously expensive axes trying to imply to other people out there that they can't like be effective in the woods unless they lay out $200–300 for an axe. That's ridiculous. If you have a decent axe, especially a nice long axe, I mean, maybe the reason you need a $250 axe is if you're buying one that's like that long instead of this long, right? You know, if you're buying an axe that's like got a 16-inch handle, maybe it does need to be a $300 axe. But if you got a 3-foot handle, you've got the physics working for you, right? So you can magnify your own power 1,000-fold and do great things. So you don't need an expensive axe. This axe, when I got it home, this morning before I came out and shot this video, I probably spent half an hour just touching up the edge. Wasn't perfect. I just spent about half an hour touching up the edge and taking some really fine, like almost like bodywork sandpaper. I glue it onto flat pieces of wood to make almost like a file, just to do a really fine hone. But I don't even know if it took half an hour, maybe 20 minutes. Right, that's all it took to take this axe, this $25 axe, and turn it into the Viking Berserker weapon of mass destruction that you just saw. So I hope you found that interesting. If you did, please like, share, subscribe. If you want to go out there and cut some stuff with axes, be careful and do your research, and you know, start small and work your way up. And so when I say start small, I don't mean start with a small axe. You start with a large axe. They're much safer because you're further away from the business end. When I say start small, I mean start with a small tree and make sure the tree's not a widowmaker. Thanks for watching.